just be a trusted person. And it's very important for every senior in this county to fill out what they call a healthcare proxy. Now, a healthcare proxy does not prevent you from making your own decisions. It only allows that if you can't make a decision, that you have designated a person, and usually a second person as a backup, to make your decisions should you be unable to communicate or if you lose capacity because of dementia. For me, my husband is my healthcare proxy. Now, what happens if my husband and I are in an accident together? Then I have a second person who happens to be my brother, who's a physician, who is my backup healthcare proxy. And all of that, not only have I written consent for them to make healthcare decisions on my behalf, but we have a very unique service in Chautauqua County that no other county in New York State has right now.
Now, what would that be?
It's called the Healthcare Proxy Registry. Chautauqua County Health Network has a registry where you can send your healthcare proxy so that the emergency room doctor, your doctor, and emergency medical personnel can look at it in an emergency.
Is that online? Can they
It
check it
is.
with a computer? They just go with a computer?
They have to have special access granted to them, but it's only given to physicians, and they can't change anything. They can only go and look at it. So say you're in an accident and you're on your way to the hospital and you're in dire need of care. All the fire departments, rescue squad people can go and ask the dispatcher to look on the registry, see if you're there, and then they will be notifying your next of kin on your way to the hospital.
Or your healthcare proxy guy, whoever it might be.
Right.
So that they can make the decision
Right,
for you. And
exactly.
And most seniors go out, this is a delicate subject, only for seniors. When we go out, we're in a coma or probably unable to communicate or to do anything. And you're in the hospital usually, and as a matter of fact, 50% of all health care takes place the last week of your life, I might add, the costs. And it's nice to have somebody like your daughter or whatever who can come in and say, look, Dad wants to live forever. Keep giving him everything, the tubes, the medicine, and whatever, and we were all praying for a miracle. Or he can come in, I got to get the other side of this, and say, Dad didn't want to live like this anymore. Pull those plugs now.
Exactly.
So that is up to you. You've got to make a decision, and Marianne's quite right. And if you don't have that healthcare proxy, there's kind of a total mishmash and shuffle. Now you have to prove that you know what they wanted to do, and you might even have to go to court to do it, although that's unlikely.
Well, you can go to court, but it's a very long process because you have to go after what's called a guardianship.
Right.
And that's very costly, and it takes a lot of time. But I want to correct you on one thing. This is not something just for seniors. It's for everybody. My son, before he left for Afghanistan, which is before he left for Iraq, he's in Afghanistan right now, I made him fill out a healthcare proxy. Not that I'm going to have any decision-making ability while he's in the military, but if something happens to him while he's in the military and he comes home, he has designated me as the person and my husband as the backup to make decisions for him. God forbid something happens, but I would urge everyone. I have all of my family fill out healthcare proxies. They're all on the registry. We keep a copy at home. It's a very simple thing to do, to just send a copy to the registry, and that's at the Chautauqua County Health Network. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but if you call our office, we can send you the healthcare proxy form, and it has all the information.
And it's a very simple form. It doesn't have to go through a lawyer. It just needs two witnesses, although much better to have it notarized, but so that they don't have to hunt up the witnesses.
Right.
If it's notarized, that's it. It's done.
But you don't even need it to have it notarized. You need just two witnesses, and neither of the witnesses can be the healthcare proxy. They have to be other people.
And it's a very simple form. It just takes a couple of minutes to fill in. I have everybody in my family fill in, even my children. And 16-year-olds have auto accidents and go into a coma.
Exactly.
And so any age you should have one of these registered.
If they're a minor, their parents can make decisions for them. But if they're not, my children are 22 and 26. They're legally adults. I can't even call places to find out. My son was in the hospital for something. And I called up to get a record to settle the insurance dispute, and they wouldn't tell me anything. I said, but I pay for the insurance. He's an adult. You have to, he has to do it himself. But now I'm his healthcare proxy. I have access to his medical information.
Okay. There's one other thing that goes hand in hand with this, Marianne.
Power of attorney?
Durable power of attorney, meaning that if they are unable to act, you can act in their behalf. Now, a regular power of attorney dies when you can't function, when you're unconscious. A durable one stays right on, no matter what happens to you, and that means that she can get the record, she can write checks, she can pay the rent, she can do businesses, buy and sell and everything if you are unable to do it. Or you have to designate somebody very carefully because they can sell you down the river too.
Exactly. I want to tell you though about a new piece of the durable power of attorney that was just passed. Because there has been so much financial abuse and exploitation, when you give somebody power of attorney or durable power of attorney, that means they can go and take money out of your bank account.
While you're still totally awake, I might add. They could go down the next day.
And it's terrific for me. I have that also for my son who's in Afghanistan because, he's got student loans that I'm paying the interest on. He has to have his taxes done, and I've been able to do that all because I have the durable power of attorney. But if I wanted to, I could take out all his money in the bank and go buy myself a car or something else, or take a trip
to the Bahamas like I'm going to do next week.
But the new regulations about power of attorney allows you to also designate somebody as a overseer.
To watch the shop.
Right. A separate person from the one who's the actual power of attorney that can watch to make sure your finances are not being used against your wishes. So this is a little check and balance, but again, as Reed said, I really caution you to choose your power of attorney very, very carefully. If you have difficulty with somebody who is your power of attorney, there are recourses, and Office for the Aging can help direct you in getting some assistance.
Yes, and a lawyer would do it for a very little amount. Now there's that third thing that we should all have too, which goes right hand in hand with the others, and that is your will. You have to have a will. Now this doesn't apply to those people who are going to live forever. You can disregard it. But if you plan to die someday, you better have a will. You never know when the good Lord is going to come for you too. He may call you home. We may just go home in the next minute. We don't know. So in that case, you should have a will in order. Otherwise, it's mass confusion. In many cases, some judge you never even heard of decides who gets your stuff. Put it in a writing. Put it in a will. It can be as simple. You know the simplest will ever written? A prospector up in Alaska died, and they found in his papers his will. It's all hers. That was it. Referring to his wife, they figured.
They hope. In this day and age, that wouldn't fly.
You're not sure, right?
They'd be debating who was the her in there.
But at any rate, get it in shape. It's a simple thing to do, really. If nothing else, you can just say, my wife gets it all, or my kids get it all, or somebody gets something. And incidentally, don't wait forever. Just give some of your dough to your kids so you can watch them spend it and have fun.
I know people are sometimes hesitant to make out a will. But I totally agree with Reed. My aunt, I never wanted to think about passing away. And the first time my husband and I went overseas to visit his family, it was a very turmoil time, a lot of bombings and things going on in Europe in the 80s. And she sat me down, you have 2 children, you got to sit down and do this will. And I'm really glad she did, because in the will, while my children were growing up, I designated somebody to take care of them. We talked about some issues with the family, so they knew what I wanted if something should happen. And it still stands that now that I'm older, I haven't had to even revise the will. Now that the kids are a majority, they're still designated as, they will get whatever's in, my property and things like that. But it's a very good thing for everyone to do.
Okay, so I want everybody today to go down to your bank or your lawyer or online, download Durable Power of Attorney, download Healthcare Proxy for New York State, and download a will form. Fill them all out. Maybe have your lawyer take a